Hello.
All right, perfect. So it
Can you
works.
hear me?
Yep, I can. So essentially, we just to get everybody up to speed, we're going to be using this platform at least once a month on a couple of different days to go over specific sales topics and really spend some time recognizing those that are good performers. So I'm going to kind of give you a real brief rundown of how to use the platform in case you've never used it before. Again, Kenny just verified that in Android it's a little different on the app, before we got started here. But somewhere on your device, you should have something that says mute. You don't need to hit it because I've already muted you. And then you'll have another button that says stop video. So if you don't want us to see your face or what you're doing, that's okay. You can just hit that video camera button, and that'll stop your video. Now, I would encourage everybody here, if there is a button on there that says invite or manage participants, if there's someone that you know of at your location that should be on this call that you don't see, which under manage participants, you can usually see who's all on the call, I would hit invite. It'll give you the ability to just send a quick text to them saying, hey, I think you forgot about the meeting. Jump on this call. And it'll send them the link for this meeting that they can just click and open up. There's also a chat function, which is going to be at various places depending on what kind of device you're calling in from, whether it's a phone, an iPad, or a computer. But either way, the chat is a good function to use. I'm going to type in a little quick message here to everyone that says hi. You can actually send me a private message, or you can send a message to everybody. So it's totally up to you, whichever you prefer. I'm going to use this chat function to give you links, that you can copy and paste and use for later use if you want to watch any of the tutorial videos that we're going to cover. If you want to just contact me directly, I might put my email address up there where you can copy and paste it in case you're not aware of how to get a hold of me. So right now, you should probably be seeing, if I had to guess, this welcome to the first national Zoom sales meeting. The meeting will begin shortly. Penny, is that still on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So now that you've been given a very, very brief introduction into the Zoom platform and the functions of it, again, chat being the most common one that you'll use. I see that someone already used the chat function. Perfect. So it looks like someone found it. So as I'm going through these topics,
Ricardo.
Yeah, hey Ricardo. If it turns out that you have a question or you need me to stop or slow down or you've got a question about anything that we cover, that would be the place to go ahead and click a message to me so you can let me know, hey, hold on, I actually have a follow-up question or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, I'm going to share my screen to make sure that that everybody sees stuff. I'm going to keep Penny unmuted just so we can verify that everything's getting out that I want people to see. So these are the topics that we're going to go over. So today we're going to go over meeting me, your national sales manager, introduction to Zoom. We've already kind of done that a little bit. We're going to talk about iCloud photo sharing, which some of you are familiar with, some of you are not. We're going to go over the top performers for August, and then we're actually going to talk about a specific sales topic, which is building in urgency to your close without being pushy. And then we're also going to discuss some upcoming topics that we might cover. And this will be a place where I'm going to ask for recommendations for you. On future calls, we will have guest speakers, people that perform well, to kind of talk about what they're doing day to day and what their best close is, or how they get over this objection. We'll cover something that will be beneficial for your everyday sales appointments. So again, we're going to go ahead and get started. So in case you're not aware of who I am, I'm actually Matthew Gooch. I've been hoisted to this position recently. And again, my background is in sales for Granite Transformations. I spent years running appointments and again, had some pretty good success. So I've been nominated to go around and try and teach some of the things that I did that made me successful. And so a lot of what we're going to cover are things that I actually used. And as Kenny can tell, because I just actually left Wichita and we did a training in person, really, ultimately, the message I try to send out is that it doesn't really matter if you use my process verbatim. You can use something that's similar, but again, my process worked very well, and I would recommend you kind of making it your own and adapting it to your style and using a process. The process is really important, and if you don't use one, you're really going to have a hard time closing. So again, myself, I had a lot of success with this company and doing in-home sales, and hopefully I can I can give you some of the tricks of the trade that I used, and it'll help you out. So the Zoom, we've already gone over a little bit, the basic functions and etiquette. Just make sure, again, if I've forgotten to mute you, mute yourself. It can be disruptive to the meeting if you've got a lot of noise in the background. Say if you're at a coffee shop or something like that. But as far as I know, everybody's muted right now. We're going to use this to do private coaching. Private coaching is something that we'll be taking care of on this platform as well. And again, that's going to be if you have a specific issue you really have a challenge with. We'll use this, and I'll be able to screen share and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and pop in the chat window. I'm not sure if this is the correct the YouTube link or not, because I think I need to update this presentation. I think this one is actually the YouTube tutorial for the iPad photo sharing, which we'll get to. But the link I just put in the chat box is a link for one of the YouTube tutorials that I did. But again, I think I intended to put the one for Zoom, and I think I actually put the iPad one there by mistake. But it is available out there, and I've sent it to the owners. But I can definitely send it to you guys if anybody needs it, which will go over how to download the Zoom app or the program to your device, and it shows a visual of every step in the process. The iCloud photo sharing iPad program. Now, Kenny just dealt with this in Wichita. Some of you have already participated in this program for some time. You may have been a guinea pig on its system. Maybe you're not aware of what the heck I'm talking about. So we're actually going to spend a second or two. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a really amazing program that will allow you to get installation photos, and you'll be able to showcase how we install a shower or do cabinet refacing, before and after pictures, sinks. It'll have lots of fun photos, which I'll kind of cover in a second. But really, if you want to join in this program, it is free. You need to have an iPad, an iPhone, or a Mac computer. That's the only way that it works. But you just need to send myself an email that'll have your name, your franchise location, so I can keep a record of who's joined, who hasn't. And then I'll need an email address that is set up to your iPad. That's very important. It has to go to your iPad or whatever device you want to use. So make sure your email that you're giving me is one that's set up on the device that you want to use. Now, we learned yesterday through some troubleshooting on some of the reps there in Wichita, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City, that if you haven't put your password in for iCloud for some time, or your Apple ID, that might prevent you. So I'll be available if you have some troubleshooting questions and you're like, oh, I didn't get an invite, or I can't get it to work. Just give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll walk you through the process. Now, another quick note on this. We've learned as well, Granite Transformations email addresses are really good about blocking what they suspect is spam. So when I've sent a lot of invites out at once, if you give me an email address to invite you to join these albums, and you've used a granitetransformations.com email address, it may be stuck in your spam because it assumes that you got 50 emails at once. It thinks that I'm just spamming you. So that would be the place to check if you don't get these invites after you've requested me to send the invites. Most likely it's stuck there in your junk mail, or it's blocked me completely, and we may need to use your personal email address if you've got one that's linked to an iPad. This is the other YouTube tutorial, and again, I can already tell based on the address. The one I just put in the chat box is in fact for the iPad tutorial. So again, feel free to watch that. It's a real easy video to watch, and it's a step-by-step of what you need to do on your device to make sure everything's set up. And again, I will actually put my email address here, because if you want to be invited to join and get these photos on your device, that again needs to be emailed to me. I'm going to stop share for a second here as well. So in the chat box here, guys, that is my email address. So go ahead and copy that to your clipboard, or if you want to click on it and email me and say, hey, send me the invites for the photos, that's where you would do it right there. Now I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second, and Penny, stand by. I'm going to start sharing my screen for my photos, and let me know when it pops up. Do you see it?
It's starting. We're getting the message. There it is. It's up.
Okay, perfect. So just to give you a quick intro into what these photos are, I have a ton of different folders that you'll get an email basically asking you to subscribe to a photo album. And once you hit subscribe, assuming that you followed the steps and your iPad's set up properly, it will automatically download all of these photos to your device. And as I add new photos, they'll automatically download to your device. And you can use these in a customer's home. Now, excuse me, quite frankly, I have had people ask me, well, mine is a little blurry. Why is it blurry when I'm in a customer's house? That's because you're probably using an iPad that's not connected to Wi-Fi or a cellular connection, which is okay. They'll still give you photos that are pretty usable, but it won't be super crisp and clear. Like, for instance, this one, when I kick it up, you see how it was fuzzy, then it went clear. Well, I'm on Wi-Fi, so it cleared up really easily. Whereas in the home, if you're using an iPad that's not connected, it might just stay a little bit fuzzy. So realistically, this is an amazing piece of technology, but it's not perfect. I'd recommend that you pair your iPad to your cell phone. That means using its cellular connection as Wi-Fi, which you can watch a YouTube video on that. It's pretty easy to do, but if you don't know how to do it, you could access that through maybe YouTube. But you see, I've got a number of folders here that is going to be very beneficial for you to use in a customer's house. That'll showcase different installations of sinks. And again, as you're going over a needs assessment with the customer, if they don't know what the heck you're talking about, these will be very useful, and you don't have to try and have them visualize it. You can just show them a picture, which is nice. Another really fun folder that I use, I used all the time when I was doing my iPad presentations with customers, is I would show them before and afters, which would help me with price conditioning. So I'd show them this before, this after, this before, and this after, which for me was very helpful because I could set an expectation of price based on the project I was looking at. So, for instance, in this kitchen scenario, if I was looking at a customer that was doing cabinets, counters, backsplash, everything, I wanted to make sure they weren't thinking it was going to cost $3,000 to do all that work. I would show them this and say, hey, this is a project that we've done. And again, this project we did in 5 days. And again, we did a lot of stuff here. As you can see, glass fronts, backsplash, lighting, sink. We did all sorts of things. We moved the fridge to the other side of the room. This project we did in 5 days, and it cost this customer $30,000. You can name whatever price you want, but it helps gauge your customer's reaction to what you've just said and help, give a price expectation. Now, if they start freaking out and saying, oh, that's too much money, that's your opportunity to go in and say, well, don't worry, yours is way different. We're not going to be doing all these elements. As you can see, they did everything. So these before and afters helped me in setting a price expectation, along with, of course, the other normal steps. Another really helpful folder that I'm going to be sending out to you is, things like your backsplash options. It'll show different types of backsplashes that you could do, our products, all granite, inlays, accent strips, mosaics. The only thing you're not going to see a lot of here is the surfaces program. And again, I just haven't been given a whole lot of surfaces pictures to use. The other thing that's really helpful on this, we have a folder called the competition. Kenny was actually a contributor to this just 2 days ago. He sent me a photo, and I instantly put it back up. He had this photo on his phone of this piece of granite that just snapped when somebody, I think, stood on it or something. I don't recall exactly, but these are helpful photos to use, and I've added recently some really good ones. The owners there in Miami at the the TT, sent me some great photos of their old place where they had quartz and they had some UV ray issues, and again, they had some color change based on exposure to UV rays. You've got some etched marbles, some just helpful photos to really drive home the point that you're not looking at our product compared to quartz and seeing it apples to apples. This is very different, and here's why. You can see this quartz is not as heat resistant as you think it is. This quartz does have issues with UV rays, and it will have the occasional burns in it. So I really loved using these pictures. I think it's a no-brainer for you guys to use. I have some videos in here. If you have a Wi-Fi connection, this video, Penny actually is the one that found this and had it on her Google Plus for the design consultants, and I stole it because I loved it so much. I thought it was a great video, and it really showcased how strong our product is. And again, he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff to this piece of horrible color that we used to offer, which is fire beige. I don't love the color.
Fire beige.
Yeah, I don't love it, but it's effective. He's dragging nails across it. He's spray painting it. He's setting fire to it. He's hitting it with hammers. He's doing all sorts of nuts things to our product, and it shows how strong it is, and it's a very efficient and effective tool to show a customer if you're in their home. If you're a location that offers flooring and they're doing clip to go, I've actually got kind of a showcase of how that actually goes together and installs to help a customer understand how the floor might go in if they do flooring. I know a lot of don't do flooring, but just in case, I've got it there. So again, all of these albums that I have are going to be available to you if you send me your email and you have an iPad or a device that you can actually connect with this iCloud program, which again is any Apple product. So phone, iPad, or a physical Mac. I'll leave off my family photos, so don't worry. I'll just send you professional things only. Now I'm going to stop share with the images, and I'm going to go into sharing screen again for there we go, for the actual, can you see that now, Penny, again? Is it back to
it's starting, yes, it's back.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, it's back.
So now we've hit this this iCloud photo sharing iPad program. It's a really great program. I would highly recommend you guys taking me up on that offer. Next, I want to cover our top performers. Our top performers are ones that we want to recognize every month. And again, this month we were only able to do August because we hadn't yet received all of the royalty reports. But we will in the next meeting cover. Sorry, I'm going to minimize this screen and then I'll go back to playing it. We want to make sure and recognize the success stories. This is important for many reasons, but I want you guys to see that there are successful people out there. So I'm going to read them off in order of accomplishment here. We've got Lynn up in Fairfield, which is in Northern California. Pray for those guys because they're the ones being stricken with those crazy fires at the moment. But he crushed it in August. $229,469. An amazing feat. Stephanie, there in Southeast Michigan, $165,337. We've got Jennifer Lee in Jacksonville, which is $161,059. Jeremy Ertl, very, very thorough sales rep, guys. I've shadowed him, and he's really, really strong. He's one that I definitely plan on bringing on to guest speak at some point. He did $160,767. Rick Fay, down there in San Diego, guys, you have no idea how competitive it is. So I know it's common that people assume in their markets that they've got the cheapest Chinese granite in town. These guys go against literally a fully built kitchen that's done in Mexico and pulled over the border, and it is dirt cheap. So it is an amazing feat that he can hit these kind of numbers on a regular basis. $145,899 for him. Gretchen in Sonoma, $139,469. Francine in Sonoma, $126,824. That whole team up there, it's insane. Susie's on this list too. I mean, they all had a crazy August apparently. Fred Fritz came in at $126,343 in the Inland Empire at the corporate store. He is a machine, that guy, and he'll tell you 126 probably wasn't even a good month for him. So he really is another really strong talent that I'll probably have guest speak at some point. Next on the list, we got Susie again from Sonoma at $124,938. We got Brian Adams in Columbus, my old stomping grounds, at $114,900. Then we've got Roger there in Little Rock, and again, I think that he's the one that was with us, Kenny, down in Wichita. So I had the pleasure of meeting with him. He did $113,700. Ray, there in Orange County, he's been with us a long time, and again, he's still putting up great numbers, $113,172. We've got Eric in Cincinnati. He's been with us some time as well, $111,910. You got Michelle, which is $104,206. And you got Jan down there at $104,206 in Southeast Michigan. I think I just said the same one twice. And my screen is being consumed with, there we go, Craig. Sorry, it was blocking the last name. Craig, of course, in Portland, $102,095. So amazing job, everybody. You did fantastic in August. I'm eager to see how everybody did in September. But again, we always want to recognize our top performers there. Whenever we have good good things to talk about. And can everybody hear and see me still? Because my computer just froze up a little bit. Can you see me?
Yeah.
You can see? Okay, perfect. I'm going to see if I can manually go to the next slide. There we go. Now I've got it. Perfect. So next we're going to cover a topic that Kenny just heard all day for 2 days. So apologies, you're hearing it again. But this is actually a technique that I use to build urgency in my close without being pushy. So again, guys, we don't have a ton of time, so we're just getting a topic and hitting it in a specific way so you guys can see just a real general overview of what I did. But there's a lot of details, as Kenny well knows after our training, that go behind this and a lot of setup that comes along with this. But when it came down to it, after I've assisted my customer with picking one color, I used to do the same kind of 2 ideas every time, and that's what I've written down here. And keep in mind, guys, I have this in a PDF copy if you want to read over it. You're more than welcome to email and ask me for a copy of what we covered in our meeting, and this will be on there. But an urgency close option number 1, I used to use something called the bulk rate close. And essentially, when I assisted my customers with selecting one single color, I would always compliment them on what great taste they have, of course, and you've gone through a whole bunch of steps at this point. You've gone and really just narrowed it down to one color for their material, and that's the key here, is you got to have one color. But I would say, oh man, that's been a very popular color this week, or you're the 3rd customer of mine that selected it. Or the one I actually used more often was, our company is actually about to order a big commercial project using that color. And then you're setting it up and saying, actually when we order in bulk, it's kind of like you get to save money on project. It's like when you're buying water at Costco or Sam's Club or wherever you buy your stuff, in bulk, if you're a big box store participant, you get the stuff cheaper, just like we would get our material cheaper. So if you don't mind, let me run in the other room. I'm going to call my owner to see if we have already placed that order. It is definitely possible because I know their install is already scheduled. But I'm going to check with him, and if possible, we might be able to save you some money on your project because you've picked the same color. Again, this assumes you've picked a final color. Next, I would actually go in the other room, and I would pick up my phone and field a fake phone call, essentially. I wanted them to be able to hear me, but I would talk to the owner and say something like, hey, I know we just did that commercial project, and I know it's sold and it's on the schedule. But did we order it yet? Or if we ordered it, did it ship yet? Can I add a couple of slabs onto that? I'm not sure if this customer is going to move forward with their project, but they've picked the same color and we're trying to get the project cost as low as possible, as you can imagine. So is there any way that we could add on to that bulk order with this customer if they decide they want to move forward? Great, fantastic. We haven't ordered it yet? Sweet. And then I'd hang up my fake phone call, go to the customer, good news. Now, again, you want to be somewhere where your customer could already have heard that conversation take place. But I would tell the customer, great news, that you are still able to jump onto that order. Again, let me explain how that would work. And that's really important that you do because, again, if you just say, hey, I'm going to group you up with someone else, it's kind of half all right. You might still get some good numbers out of it, but I think it's better to be thorough. I would explain and be very clear with them. Although the other job's already scheduled their project using this material, you can still schedule your project based on what fits your needs. So you're trying to tell them, look, don't feel like I'm pressuring you here into doing an install next week. You can still do it in a month, 2 months, whatever works best for you. This is simply a way to decrease your cost of your material and therefore reduce your project cost. Is it okay for me to price it at the cheaper price? And you're rarely going to get someone that says, no, actually, I want the more expensive price. You're going to get them say, yeah, I'd like to save some money on my project. So that was one way that I would actually initiate and set up. Now, keep in mind, this is all being done immediately or right as you're trying to go to a final color. So if you're deciding between 2, sometimes this would help me get to just 1. And I would say, listen, if you like them both equally, then we've got a way for you to save money on this one. We just did a commercial project in it, and we're going to order in bulk. And you can kind of put it in that way, but you don't want to bring this out at the very last second. You're going to do it after the final color selected, or you need to get to the final color, and before you're kind of doing your summary and your summary of your scope of work and doing what I call the Price is Right game. And it's way before you're unveiling price. You're kind of creating a situation that makes it easy for them to decide. Next, I would use one that's a bit more complicated. So not everybody wants to use this tactic. Clay, the owner there in Wichita, and the other franchises came up with a good solution to this. If you don't want to use this whole waste thing, I get that a lot of sales reps take time and avoid going over the fact that you would ever pay for waste is kind of a big no because again that's how a lot of people sell against. Granted, is that hey, you don't have to buy waste here. You're going to buy, we charge you for exactly what you use. The reality of the situation is your owners do order slabs sometimes, and if a job needs 2.25 slabs, they have to order 3 slabs to make that job happen. Or if they're in centralized, they're combining jobs all the time, and that's where I came up with this because again, it was so common that we needed 2.5 slabs, 2.25. It says my internet is unstable. So Penny, are you still catching me or am I breaking up?
Yeah.
You say I am?
I was just starting to send you a note. I was just starting to send you a note. You're starting to break up, but right now you're back.
Perfect.
Good again.
Okay. So I'm going to contact my ISP to make sure we get a more beefy internet connection. I don't know what I need to do to make it better, but this is going to be written down. And guys, if I break up, this is just read this, and it's all it's all worded perfectly on the slide. But the urgency number 2 I would use. That said, when I told you my owners always would order 3 slabs, even if they needed 2.5. And, again, we just had to eat it. We didn't charge the customer for it, but really it created a unique situation for me. I would say, after they picked the color, or if they were down to 2 colors, let's say, and I got them on 1, I'd say, man, this is too funny. I just actually had a project use this color last week. I mean, unfortunately for them, they kind of wasted some material for the project. They really only needed 2.25 slabs, but as you can imagine, we can't just order 1/4 of a slab. So they actually had to buy 3. I offered to kind of use that waste with them and do a vanity or, do some other area of their house with the extra material, but they just didn't want to pay for the plumbing, the sink, the fabrication, because really it's not free, but at least the material is there and ready to be fabricated if you want to use it. They ended up being pretty happy with me just doing a cutting board for them, and they were all happy, So that said, based on your layout, you're going to be in a similar situation where you need a partial slab. And since you guys pick the same color, when stars align like this, we try to group jobs together. Essentially, we'll order you both at the same time and tag the slabs when they arrive. And it's a great way for you to avoid having the same waste issues and, as my other customer, and it'll reduce your project cost. So let me call the owner to make sure that he didn't already order for that customer or it's not already shipping. Give me just a second. I'm going to walk in the other room, and again, you're making the same type of call. Hey, did you already order for that other project? Hopefully you didn't, because yeah, the Joneses, they did White Star, right? Well, I got another customer that could use that piece that they wasted. So is it okay if I group them together? I mean, I don't know if they're moving forward yet, but if they decide they want to move forward, can I group these jobs together so we can get the project cost down? And then boom, that's all you need to do. Go back and say, yeah, actually, guys, good news. We can group you together. So here's how that would work. And again, you explain how it works. Although we already scheduled the other project using the material, you can still schedule your project whenever it fits your needs. It's essentially, it's very important that we lot pair these together so we make sure you guys don't have some crazy 2-tone kitchen. But we're going to group your 2 projects together and order them together, but that's the end of the relationship. You can still schedule whenever it's good for you. This is simply a way to decrease the cost of your material and therefore reduce your overall project cost. So is that okay that I price this a little bit cheaper for you? Haha, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Yeah, of course. They're going to take it. They want the cheaper price. So again, this happens after you pick final color or you're trying to select final color. It really doesn't matter, guys, if you use this exact word. But really, as you can see here, my theory is I want to create some internal pressure for them to want to move forward now. Without me having to directly push them as we've previously taught in years past of, hey, I can save you 10% today if you sign right now. If you want to avoid that kind of used car salesy feel, which it wasn't my style. Again, that was what I used, and I created this show basically for them to buy into and say, thinking in the back of their mind, oh, wow, I do want cheaper cost. Oh, I'd love to group up. Heck, we could save cost on material. It gives them a reason to buy now as opposed to 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. And again, there's more steps to this process, which we'll cover in future meetings. And that's actually what we're going to cover next. What other topics we're going to go over. So we've got the Price is Right game and negotiation. That's a fun game I used to play to try and pull budget out of a customer. And it worked a lot. I mean, you ask it every time, you'll get 75-80% of people that will actually give you their number that they're thinking it's going to cost. And it's a good gauge for you to understand whether you did a good job price conditioning and what kind of work you're going to have to do in negotiation. The needs assessment, it's the most important thing because it is your blueprint to sell your customer is the needs assessment. So it's one of the most important steps. So we'll spend probably a whole session on that one. Warm up and transitions, porch lighting. What the heck is porch lighting? One-leggers. How do you deal with one-leggers? Do you leave a price? Do you not leave a price? What's the difference between a one-legger and a one decision maker? Next would be price conditioning, setting up a customer's expectations. How to sell a backsplash or upsell a backsplash from low to high. Cabinets, bathrooms. My customers don't like glass for backsplash. That whole thing. I can help you with what I used to use to sell backsplash because we only offered glass or granite and that was it. We had no surfaces, so I became very effective at selling what we had to offer. Getting a customer to select one color instead of letting them settle on two or three. You're my first of three bids excuse. I've heard that one a billion times, and I'm sure you have too. So usually that's a defense mechanism for a customer that doesn't want to, they don't want to buy or they don't want to feel pressured to buy. So that's something they naturally say even if it's not true. So there's ways to get around that. I need to think about it, which is probably the most common objection that you're going to get or do get. And again, that 100% of the time is an opportunity for you to open up negotiation. To see if this is something that you can get past. And again, I need to think about it. Generally just means your price is too high and you need to work around that. And there are ways to do it. So those are the topics that we plan on covering. I would love for any suggestions. If you guys feel like there's something that I've left off that you think, oh, it's really important, or I really would prefer we cover this, just send me an email or request your owner to send me an email and say, hey, I'd really like to focus on this topic. I'm having challenges with it. But again, if I don't get a whole lot of feedback, I'll just pick from this list and that'll be the next meeting next month. And we'll cover that topic in depth. Now, with that said, I'm going to leave a couple minutes open here. We're doing good on time. But the chat function here, anyone have any questions? Anyone have any specific requests or they don't get or understand or want me to go back to anything, I'm going to leave the chat window open for you guys to send me a message before we end the call. So how's everybody doing in terms of retaining the information that we've covered? Everybody good? Anyone speaking up? I'll even unmute everybody just in case you prefer to talk. So let's see if I can get back to that. And I'll unmute all.
On the Philadelphia Phillies, it's just.
So everybody good? Does anybody have any last minute questions or anything that I can help with?
No, I'll send you an email. I have 8 appointments next week.
Nice. Okay.
Which I'm pretty fired up for.
Yeah.
Especially after just coming back from training. After training, you always feel refreshed and fired up. So, like I said, I got 8 appointments next week. I plan on doing this new program on all 8 of them, and I'll email you. I'll email you at the end of the week, kind of let you know what I'm running into.
Perfect.
It's kind of hard to say now without just going through the class and learning.
Right.
This new system, what questions I'm going to have, because I don't know yet until I put it in play.
Sure. And guys, just anticipate, I told them this at the training, practice it with your spouses if you really want to get smooth with it. But again, those of you that are just doing this real brief call, I would encourage you to, again, send me an email request where you can kind of study this over and look over it a few times. Or again, if you get it already and you just kind of, oh, I get the idea. You're creating a situation that kind of is linked to something else that makes them want to buy now. And again, as I told Kenny on all of my quotes when I would do this, I'd make it very clear in the notes section of my I didn't leave quotes actually, I did it on a contract, but I assumed a sale and I would write everything on a contract, and I put in real big writing, not a 30-day quote. This is, grouped price or linked price or whatever I'd use to make it clear to the customer as I laid the price out. Hey, there's a call to action built in right here because we're giving you discounted pricing. This isn't a normal 30-day quote. And it really is effective on letting them feel the pressure internally saying, oh, well, I'd like to move forward. I mean, I want to get the cheaper price if I can get it, as opposed to you having to extract that from them. And there are times when you have to remind them of that. Of course, you need to explain it a little bit more clearly. And that's why I told Kenny in the beginning, you guys are probably not going to be super polished at trying to do this tactic. But over time, as you get better with it, you're going to notice the results. While I was doing the training there with Kenny, I received a very kind phone call from Bethany in Cape Cod, which I did some private coaching on and did this exact thing I'm doing right now. It was just a little more in depth, about an hour and a half. And she was singing the praises of this tactic. She used it and sold her first 2 jobs, I think, or a job or 2 that she used it on. And she was like, this is crazy. It just works really well. So if you use it, or again, you adapt it to your own process, if you follow a process, follow the correct steps, you're going to see your numbers go up. But again, a lot of times sales reps don't realize they've stopped using a process and they don't do the needs assessment and they skip these things and just assume they're going to get sales, and they don't understand why their numbers aren't where they want to be. So again, hopefully this will serve as some motivation to reevaluate your process that has been successful maybe for you in the past. And again, email me if you want these notes and I'm happy to send them to you. Otherwise, again, unless anyone has anything else, we'll just kind of leave it here and we'll see everybody next month.
Awesome.
Everybody good? All right.
Awesome.
Good job, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Great job, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you next month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.